Hello Megamaniacs, this is Mr. MegaManFan with a same day unboxing and testing for something I just got in the mail from Limited Run Games. And some of you may know this saga already because when they announced that this was going to be available, it said ready to ship. So I didn't order any pre-orders when I ordered this, but it still took them over a month to ship it out. However, that time has now finally passed. It went through UPS, got transferred to the United States Postal System, and now it's here. The Astro City Mini. Didn't have to order it from Japan and pay import shipping, although shipping from where Limited Run Games is wasn't necessarily that cheap, but still cheaper than importing it and having it sent to a reshipper and paying the fees and duties associated with that. They have a custom box that they made that's in English, although I get the feeling that the original box might have been in English too, because oddly enough it looks like they slapped a sticker on here that said Limited Run Games, and they didn't even slap it on evenly. You can see it's bubbling up over here on the left and in the middle. So was the original box in English? I'm not sure. There's the specs. It's a 3.9-inch screen, which isn't bad for a miniature device like this, but just like the Neo Geo Mini, you can put HDMI out to a television for a much larger picture. That could still be cumbersome though, because unless you have a wireless controller adapter, you're still going to be using the same stick and buttons to play it, even though it's outputting to a television. With the Neo Geo Mini, I have a Mayflash Magic NS, so I can use the adapter and sit at a distance and use my Nintendo Switch Pro or a PlayStation 4 wireless controller, and I can play the Neo Geo Mini that way, but it doesn't seem to work with my Astro City Mini. I read the instructions, and obviously it says use the buttons on there or use one of the external controllers sold separately. I did order one of those and I'll get it eventually. It seems to be on a slow boat from Japan to the United States. I don't know why they chose the slowest form of shipping possible when I paid $26 for it. So even though it took Limited Run a long time to ship out the Astro City Mini, they still got it to me here faster than the controller I ordered. So I guess we got to give them some credit, right? And as for that Mayflash Magic NS, I've been told by some people do a firmware update, but the executable for the firmware doesn't work on a Macintosh OS, so I'm going to have to find a PC to plug the Mayflash Magic NS into and then see if I can update it that way. But with the Neo Geo Mini, it's literally just plug and play. You plug it in, it starts flashing, you select the device you want to sync up to with the mode button on the side, and you hold it in to get it syncing, and then you do the same with the controller of your choice, whether it's the Switch Pro controller or the PlayStation 4 controller. You sync, you hit the sync mode, and it pairs up, and it just works. And for Neo Geo Mini, the Switch Pro controller is a blast. It has all the buttons you need to play any of the games right on the front, so if it was plug and play with the Astro City Mini, that would be spectacular, but I tried plugging the Mayflash Magic into the Player 1 port, the USB port on the back of the device, and it didn't even register. I even tried plugging in a PlayStation 4 controller through the USB port on the back of the Mayflash Magic NS. Again, didn't register, nothing doing. So for the time being, I either need a firmware update or it's just not compatible with the Astro City Mini, but other YouTube videos have led me to believe that it is, so maybe it's a firmware update, maybe not. If you know more, leave comments below, but as for right now, I have to use the stick and the buttons. I have no other way to play it, so there's really no point in showing you the HDMI out to my television at this time. I could do a future update later on in another video, but right now I'll just show you the functions on the screen itself. Every game that you go to gives you a menu and lets you select to start a new game and which file to use for that game. I didn't want to play Thunder Force just yet, though. I thought I'd go back to the menu and select one of my all-time favorite Sega games, Fantasy Zone. Now, it would be easier to play this with a wireless controller. Again, that's what I'm used to when I play Fantasy Zone anymore. Never really played this in the arcades. Always played it with a controller in my hand, whether it was Sega Master System or any other version of it that's ever been made since then. But the arcade game seems to be mostly the same as every other version of Fantasy Zone I've ever known. It would be accurate to say those were ports of the arcade original, but since I never saw the arcade game when I was a kid, never knew it was an arcade game, to me, Fantasy Zone was a Sega Master System game, and later a Nintendo game, but definitely not something I knew from the arcade. So, other than playing it on a MAME cab, I don't play the original Fantasy Zone arcade version very often, but with the Astro City Mini, now I've got a good excuse to. You've got your typical bomb and shooting buttons, but you've also got a hyper shooting button, like a turbo button that just fires out a continuous stream of shots. And if you want to take out the enemies that drop coins for you to use in the shop, that's a really quick way to do it. As you see, those bases go down really fast when you use the turbo shot. If you want to go back to the menu, hit the coin and the one player button at the same time. Those are the two yellow buttons above the joystick. The left one is add a coin and the right one is player one start. But if you hit both of them together, it takes you to the save state menu where you can either save your game or go back to the main menu. The bottom two of the 6 buttons going left to right are basically your A and B buttons for going in and out of a menu. First button selects things, the second button cancels things. Call them the 1 and 2 button, the A and B button, the X and Y button. I don't care what you call them. They aren't labeled on here, so I'm just going to call them the lower left 2 buttons. Now, Sonic Boom is one that I'm not familiar with at all. I just picked it because of the name Sonic, even knowing that it wouldn't be a Sonic the Hedgehog game, but I find this one is much harder to control filming and playing at the same time. I probably need to set this on an actual flat tabletop and not be filming to play it properly, but it's just too much going on the screen for that shooter to be able to control it very well while filming. Wonder Boy in Monsterland 3, a little easier to control because it's an auto-scroller. Now, if this looks like a cross between Wonder Boy in Dragon's Trap and Adventure Island, yeah, it basically is. They split off into 2 separate series between Japan and North America. So if you see that and that's what you think, you're not wrong. I really like the Astro City Mini. It comes with a lot of different options in the menu. When you go back to it, you can adjust the volume, the brightness, the screen settings, the wallpaper. It gives you a lot of customization for how it looks, whether you're playing it on the built-in screen or outputting it external HDMI to your television. The only downside for me right now is that I have yet to figure out how to get a wireless adapter to work with a controller. I want to pair the Mayflash Magic with either the Switch Pro or a PS4 controller or even an Xbox One controller. I'll take whatever I can get to pair up, but as it stands right now, this is all I can do with it. But it's still a lot of fun, even limited to just playing it on the unit itself instead of porting it out to a TV. I'll figure out a way to get around that limitation soon enough. I'll either update the firmware and do another video, or somebody will tell me a different solution. Thumbs up for the Astro City Mini. I'm your host, Mr. MegaManFan. Thanks for watching this unboxing and review.